Okay, let's get the show going. How's everyone doing today? So the question that was asked that we're going to focus on today has to do with I'm starting an online business. What legal tips, what legal issues do I need to be concerned with when starting an online business? So we're going to address that question in specifics today. But I want to welcome you to the new show, myvideolawyer.com. My name is Mitch Jackson. I'm a senior partner with Jackson & Wilson, and the whole game plan here is to go live to answer your legal questions, to try to get you going in the right direction with respect to getting legal help and getting legal solutions. And we have a couple of questions that were submitted today, and we're going to cover them during the show. This is a kickback, comfortable, relaxed type of show. Anything goes. You can pop on video with me and ask your question. You can ask your question in live chat, or like a couple of people did, they emailed me their questions before the show at myvideolawyer.com. So before we get started, let's do the legal disclaimer up above. Let me just go over that with you. This is very, very important. And I want to run through it quickly. Although I am an attorney, I'm not your lawyer. In this show, I'm simply sharing my thoughts, my personal thoughts concerning legal issues. No legal advice or opinions are given. I'm only licensed to practice law in the state of California, the United States District Federal Court for the Central District, and the United States Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit. As such, if you have a legal issue, if you have a legal need or concern, I want you to contact a qualified lawyer in your city, in your town, and in your state for legal help, okay? So now that we've got that out of the way, let's go to you know what? Lily asked a question, and let me pull that up, see if it's down here. And Lily, this is a good question. Let's put this on the air. And what Lily asked is, if you file a responsive document to a case here in California, and you've also requested a fee waiver, and for whatever reason that fee waiver is denied, what should you do next, okay? And let's just make this a little bit more general. And the bottom line really is each court, each venue, each jurisdiction is a little bit different. What I would suggest that you immediately do is contact the clerk of the court. See whether or not they'll accept payment as having completed the filing requirement so that you get everything filed on time, or do they require you to refile the documents? You need to take the guesswork out of what your next step is. So I would physically travel down to the courthouse. I would talk with the clerk and find out what you need to do next. If that's not an option, go online. Every single superior court, every single limited jurisdiction court has a website link. Frequently asked questions are on these links, and that should get you going in the right direction. I hope that's helped just a little bit with your particular question. Let's see here. I've got, let's address the online business question, because that's a question I've been asked more than once. And Sean, I'll get to you in a second, so just bear with me. But let's see. The question is, a couple of people have asked this question different ways. I want to start an online business. What legal steps should I take? So some time ago, I did a blog post about this. And this isn't the specific question I was asked, but I think the way I want to approach the answer will help more people. So let's go ahead and do that. And by the way, if you like this show, share it on the social platforms using the buttons on the right side of the screen. You're not going to be taken away from the show. Also, if you have family and friends that have legal questions and they'd like some free direction, free advice, some free opinions, not specifically regarding their case, but generally what people need to do, have them come on the show, and we'll run that by everybody. But with respect to starting an online business, there are 6 things that I think you need to be aware of. The first thing is you don't ever want to do business as an individual. You're exposing your personal assets, your personal bank accounts, home equity, anything like that, to something that may happen during the course of your business. What I like to see people do is I like to see them do business as an LLC, a limited liability company, or as a corporation. Those are my 2 preferred methods of doing business. I don't like general partnerships. There's too much liability exposure, even when doing business as a general partner. So the first thing is make sure when you're doing business online to do so as the correct business entity. That's very, very important. Each state's different. Contact a lawyer in your state to determine what would be the best business entity for you to use when doing business. You have tax consequences, you have reporting regulation, jurisdictional restrictions and requirements. So depending on what you're doing and what state you're in, you want to pick the right entity. So the first thing is, don't do business as an individual. Make sure you're doing business as the correct legal entity. Number two, make sure that you review all contracts, all written documents with respect to the business that you're doing. If you're an affiliate for a company, make sure you've read that affiliate agreement and you know what your rights or remedies are. If you're selling a product for a third-party supplier, read that contract, read the agreement between you and the provider so that you understand what your rights and remedies are. Oftentimes, yes, Sean, get your camera set up and I'll bring you on. Oftentimes, when something bad happens, and oftentimes in business, things don't go the way you normally plan. It may be a disgruntled customer. It might be a product that's not working correctly. Sometimes there's liability exposure. So you need to look at that contract and determine if the product that you're selling harms somebody, are you on the hook? Is the person that created the product on the hook? And or have you contracted away those rights, those protections, those remedies that are called indemnification, reimbursement, things like that, subrogation? Have you contracted away any protection that you might otherwise have had you not contracted it away? So number two, read and understand all contracts when you're doing business online. Number three, really make sure and be aware of defamation issues. You've got to be careful what you say online about other people, about other companies, about other services. Sure, truth is a defense, but sometimes it can be very, very expensive to litigate in court in order to show that what you said is the truth. So the bottom line is be very careful about what you say. Watch out for defamation issues. Number four, watch out for intellectual property rights and intellectual property issues when it comes to using other people's material, content, photographs, things like that. Respect other people's intellectual property rights. These are the areas that we see most of the litigation taking place in, so be aware of that. Number five, mediation and arbitration. These are provisions that you can incorporate into your sales contracts, into your service contracts that may just keep you out of court. They may allow you a quick and timely and oftentimes inexpensive way to resolve your disputes with disgruntled clients, disgruntled third parties, whatever the case may be. So incorporate mediation and arbitration clauses into what you're doing. Last but not least, and this is something a lot of people don't think about, incorporate a venue clause in what you're doing. A venue clause says that if I'm here in California and I'm selling a product in New York, and for whatever reason somebody in New York isn't happy with that product or that service, then they agree to mediate, arbitrate, or litigate their claim, their concerns here in Orange County, California. It's a convenience clause. It'll save you a lot of money for having to travel across the country. And once again, when we here in California advise new businesses going online, what they need to do, these are the 6 steps we ask them to look at, to discuss with another attorney. The article that we've written that you may enjoy reading, let me just put it up here. There's the link. If you click on this link, it will take you to a more detailed analysis of those 6 steps when doing business online. And I encourage you to check it out, and share it with anybody that you know who may be thinking about doing business on the internet. Let's see if we have any other questions. We had one individual that looks like he popped back out. And one question that came up earlier today, and let's just cover it real quick, is it talks about the Philadelphia Amtrak train accident that happened yesterday. And the question has to do with, in fact, I had someone on Twitter also reach out to me, what are the remedies, what are the liabilities of Amtrak, what do the pedestrians, families, victims, what rights do they have? And first of all, let me say that the law in each state is different. Some train cases are controlled by state law, some by federal law, some by a combination of both. It just depends on the situation. And I don't know what did or didn't happen with the Amtrak train accident in Philadelphia, but I did note that a news broadcast just came up a few minutes ago, and it talked about the Amtrak train that derailed was It looks like it's believed to have been traveling in excess of 100 miles an hour, and the rating at this particular corner or turn was 50 miles an hour. If that's accurate, that creates a huge liability exposure for Amtrak. When it comes to train accident cases, some things that people need to be aware of, and we've handled a couple over the years, and we're in California, I'm not in the Philadelphia area, but I think it's interesting, a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that there are over 600 railroads in the United States and literally hundreds of thousands of miles of railroad track. So there's a lot of things happening across the country, potentially exposing the railroad companies and passengers and people using the tracks, crossing the tracks, walking next to the tracks, potential harm and exposure. According to the Department of Transportation and the Federal Railroad Administration, there are more than 2,500 train accidents each year. I didn't know that. That's an alarming high number of train accidents that happen each year in the United States. And I think it's something that maybe we need to take a look at. The Department of Transportation Act of 1966 and the Federal Railroad Administration have authority to oversee the railroad administration, safety issues, steps that could be taken to avoid these types of cases from happening. So, if we want to avoid derailments, crashes with other trains or other vehicles, pedestrians being struck either while crossing a railroad track or what have you, these are all things that we need to look at, and these are the departments that need to probably do a little bit better job of protecting not only pedestrians and users of railroads, but also the employees, the people that work on the trains. It's interesting, what I didn't know, this is fascinating, is that when it comes to bystanders, there's over 140,000 railroad crossings in the United States. So somehow we have to get from point B, point A, cross over the tracks to point B. 140,000 railroad crossings. Less than 25% of these railroad crossings, or about 25%, are unmarked, which means there aren't any signs, any lights, any notice other than the driver, which you got to be careful looking right or left before crossing the tracks. Other than a driver paying attention, will notice whether or not there's a train coming. So, just be careful out there. There's potential liability when it comes to train accidents on behalf of the railroads, but there's also the issue of whether or not a driver of a vehicle, whether or not a pedestrian walking on the track was paying attention. So all of these things come into play. So let's see, Lily, I answered your question, and I want to keep these things short and sweet. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. You can connect with me on Twitter. Let me put that up here. And my Twitter handle is @MitchJackson. I'm fairly active on Twitter. I love that platform. If you'd like to connect with me via our law firm, there's a contact page there. You can do so. It's jacksonandwilson.com. Once again, the link is right there. This particular platform is myvideolawyer.com. If you go to that, it'll take you to a page on our main website. You can submit questions. You can look at video answers from earlier shows, and we're going to start using a search function that allows people to search our prior episodes to get answers to their important legal questions. So unless anyone wants to raise their hand and ask another question over in the chat, I think we're going to wrap it up today. Once again, please share this show with your family and friends. Please share this service with anyone that you think may want to get a quick and easy and concise answer to their legal question, or maybe I can get them going in the right direction. Always a pleasure, and I just enjoy doing this stuff, so always feel free to reach out. Okay, until tomorrow, I want to thank you for stopping by myvideolawyer.com, and remember to always make today your masterpiece. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.